Indiethon Summer 2023, supporting the Samaritans. Up next, we have TempestMask1000 running Mighty number 9, any percent. The stage is yours.
Y'all couldn't get enough of this game, could ya? I don't blame you, me neither. Hello, friends and fellow gamers. My name is TempestMask1000. Some of you know me as Steve. Apologies if my mic sounds a little bit peaky. Let me just turn that down a little bit. And with that, welcome to the game. The game made of all time, or whatever JP said back in February. So, here's what's going to happen here. I'm going to play this game. It's going to be any percent. I'm going to be playing on the normal difficulty. And joining me are my usual commentator crew. We of course got a fella who's very supportive of the game and sees this for what it tried to do, and very much the good in it. And just a very, very awesome Mega Man expert in general, LV Creed.
How you doing, everyone? This is your boy LV Creed here. As Tempest has mentioned, I'm not necessarily a runner of the game, but I support the game. I tried to follow the uptake of the game, including the speedrun aspects. So hopefully we'll get a very fun show from Tempest as the game rolls along.
Heck yeah. And joining me, of course, is my wonderful friend and sort of a partner in crime when it comes to this game, as well as something else that we just recently launched the leaderboard for. A little more on that later, but he's the world record holder of this category at any percent hard, and his name is Ipeho Pue, but we also like to call him JP.
Oh, and what Tempest tried to say about this game is that it is the game ever made.
The game ever made,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a runner of this game, as said, and yeah. I'll hope we'll see a good show. And I know we do. It always has been the case.
Heck yeah. So just to give you all an idea, we are playing on the English voice acting. There are 3 different dubs of this game that I've done a little bit of each through with this entire speed running of sorts. And let me tell you, all of them are a treat. But I think this is probably the best way to experience Mighty Number 9 personally. So with that said, we're going to get things going. Quick mention, this game is timed via IGT, so anytime I look at the results screen, it's just to keep times in mind, and we'll be seeing how it all plays out. But for now, time will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's dash. Okay, so this game was kickstarted and originated around 2012-ish, 2013, and was headed by Keiji Inafune, longtime producer and director of Mega Man games. Sometimes confused for the creator of Mega Man, when this of course was not necessarily the case, but he is best known for creating Zero and quite a few other notable Mega Man characters in the entire franchise, and wanted to essentially take on his own sort of spiritual successor, which essentially ended up being this game ever since he left Capcom and formed his company Concept. Now, this game obviously is a little bit infamous. It delivered on the game after years of delays, but eventually, people are saying that it could have done better. We still think it's a great speed game, though, and we've just picked up the main speed method called the dash. JP, explain more, please?
Well, dash is, of course, a way to go forward with a rapid pace. But it's also actually integrated to combat. See here? Tempest dashes through the enemies. The game wants you to shoot enemies to stun them, and you know they're stunned when they bleed some color of pixels. Then you can actually absorb them to get them away from, get rid of the enemies. You can also shoot them, but it's usually a lot slower, so generally you want to dash absorb these enemies. But depending on the color they bleed, they can give you actually several useful bonuses for Beck, and those are usually temporary. Like the yellow one here, this is increased defense. This is probably the least useful of the bunch. This one will give a red one. Red one actually makes Beck's bullets go through enemies, the basic bullets at least, and it also increases the firepower of all the weapons, and they have different kind of uses, depending on the weapon you use. And also, probably the most important one, this one here, the green boost. It gives you more speed, and I don't think I need to explain anymore about why that's a useful thing.
So whenever I'm going extra fast, the game will also call me for it, or rather congratulate me for it, and that's a little sprinter bonus. This game likes to implement score into the mix, kind of like what Mega Man 1 did, although to its credit, it's a little more fleshed out, so at the very least, it's not pointless. But it is, I suppose, simply there. Anyway, here's the Round Digger. He's the intro boss of this intro stage, which is also kind of sort of a city highway. Makes you wonder about that, eh? I don't have any special weapons, but he actually does have a weakness in Mighty No. 2's weapon, which is pretty interesting, and nets you a little score bonus called a Fine Play. Of course, it's not the most important thing to have in a speedrun, but it's worth mentioning as a bit of a nice fun fact. 2 minutes, 6 seconds, 0.26.
26, yeah.
Alright, so...
But those fights, those fights quickly, they work like basic enemies that you have, but this time you have to absorb them. Their health bars are divided into sections, and once you deal enough damage to one section, you have to absorb the boss quickly to get rid of that health bar for, amount of health for good. If you don't, they will actually regenerate the health back, and that will make the fight last a little bit longer. But yeah. Now we have reached actually the first proper stage, the bat stage, and actually, Green, why do we take this first?
Yeah, so the way we go about Mighty Number 9, just like in Mega Man, we do kind of like have a set order. Of course, we have weaknesses for each and every other Mighty Numbers. So, and of course, we had to get weapons, of course, of varying usefulness. And this is the main reason we start with Battalion first. The weapon we get from Battalion is insanely strong. So we're going to be using that in order to try to serve as the basis of going through the stage fast. And of course, yes, what Tempest did, what we saw earlier in the intro stage, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, JP, about the name, it's been a while, it's called the action shift, where you saw in the intro stage where Beck was kind of like doing some backwards jumping while firing. At that time, that was the fastest mode of travel since we didn't have the dash initially. But the thing is, when he does that, it was on a platform. You saw him kind of like use that explosion on a explosive barrel. It was on a box. If he does an action shift, as soon as that explosion goes off, he is granted invincibility throughout that section. Of course, that invincibility does wear off in specific sections, like that little boss room area, well, the enemy rush area, which is you'll see from specific points from time to time throughout the game. But yeah, specific sections like that will completely cancel out the invincibility period, and Tempest will have to do that little trick again. Of course, you'll do that whatever that's needed. But as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward stage, one of those stages that you can pretty much do and serve as a decent starting point. Of course, not for the weaponry that we get after, but because it doesn't really need weapons in order to make the stage faster. So as you can see, Tempest is just dashing through most of the stage. He pretty much is almost through the rest of the Battalion stage, and the thing is about the Battalion fight, we should begin to in a few moments. Once we get there, guess I'm a little bit early.
Yeah, no, but you're fine. We're just about there.
Yeah, the fights are similar to what JP mentioned. The fights are done in sections, and Battalion, he can be a bit of a interesting case. You want him to stay grounded as much as possible. He has an attack that allows him to go in the air and attack from the ceilings. It'll be a little bit harder for Tempest to attack while he's at the ceilings. You want him to be grounded to deal as much damage as possible to get those sections down as low as possible so he can do his acceleration dash to actually get that hit. Be sure not to take this hit right here. Just like in later Mega Man games, each of the Mighty Numbers do have like a desperation phase. The phase that Battalion does is instant kill, so you want to avoid that at all costs. But of course, once again, we got Tempest doing the fight. Battalion's being very, very kind. No ceiling attacks so far, and very clean fight.
That was a really good pattern. So yeah, as you saw right there, the idea was I wanted to manipulate him into constantly jumping over me so that I could just keep mashing him with more and more pellets. I mentioned 3 minutes 15 seconds, 0.95.
Yeah.
Basically, what happens with the missile attack is that you can actually do a little thing called the duck dash, which, keep in mind, we'll be coming into a little something regarding that mechanic a little later. Not immediately right now, but of course, just something to note. Yeah, so Creed mentions the iframe glitch is properties, and I like to generalize them into two general uses because that's mainly how you're going to see them pulled off in the game. The box destruction jump, which being the setup off of a box that's going to get destroyed, basically, and there are different types of boxes, each with a different sort of health, if you will. So it's something I also got to try to keep in mind. Other than that, I did a little thing I like to call a conveyor jump, which I just simply performed the trick off the edge of a conveyor belt. Right, here we go. Okay, got it. Cool. So that's actually a harder, ooh, well, that's close, whoops. That scared me a little. Okay, so as I was going to say, conveyor jump, I just try to set up the action shift on the edge of the conveyor belt, which will still interrupt the animation and still perform the trick just nicely. If I failed that, I would have tried it over here, but those particular boxes are probably the beefiest the game has to offer. Now, this is a little something interesting here. You'll notice that some obstacles are colored in pink, the reason for this being that's the instant kill signature. Basically, it lets you know that something will potentially instant kill back. And this game has a bit of an unfortunate side effect to its sort of design. It's not necessarily a error, it's sort of just how they program the game, where similar to the original Mega Man 1, iframes will not save you from instant death traps. That was a good jump, by the way. That's always a little daunting when I try to do that, but it usually works out these days, because once you get used to it, it'll become slight second nature. Sometimes, if I feel a little unconfident with it, though, I will wait it out. The reason I bring up the pink is bad rule here is because those drills, you clearly saw me dash through them, and I was perfectly fine. That's just a slight exception to it, really. Alright, coming up on the Mick fight. Let's see what happens with this one, because there's always something that I've been eager to show an event at some point or another. I just never got it, neither in my runs either, but here we go. JP?
Mixed fight is rather simple. You just don't want to see that attack this much. Or only once is fine, twice is too much, and thrice is just, it's gonna make you cry. But yeah, basically just shoot rockets in the face if he's weak to it. His desperation move is that he makes the fight area a little bit smaller by calling down those columns. And the funny thing is that Tempest was talking about that the mech can get crushed by those columns, and he will immediately lose all his health, and all you need to do is dash upshot him once to finish the fight.
Ooh! Yo, that's an achievement! What? And 1 minute 59 seconds, .94. That's interesting. I think that's never happened before. So I just got an achievement called Untouchable, which basically means I beat the stage without taking a single point of damage. I have never pulled that off before, as far as I've ever played this game. I don't even think my Xbox version has that unlocked. What? How?
Kind of interesting considering that Seismic Stage is actually very close quarters. So getting that kind of achievement in that kind of stage is actually kind of amazing.
I agree.
Yeah. I think the invincibility glitch will make it a little bit easier, at least.
That definitely helps for sure. And the thing is, it's funny too. They could have easily patched this thing out, but they always left it in. Oop! Oh no! Oh well. Okay, no. Oh well.
So yeah, Brandon's stage, the stage where you don't want to touch the pavement at all. So yeah, you're going up on top of cars. You're seeing these signs, road signs that basically are served as obstacles along your way. So it's pretty much just jumping from car to car, making sure you don't do what Tempest accidentally did and fall off and wind up getting instantly killed on the pavement. But technically, it's a pretty straightforward stage where, as I mentioned before, it's just general platform from car to car, and just to make sure that you're not doing anything too reckless and you're moving on as straightforward as possible. The big thing, on the other hand, is what I alluded to much earlier, because we really didn't talk about Battalion's weapon. The Battalion's weapon is pretty much, if you're familiar with Mega Man 4, it's kind of similar to that of the drill bomb. It's pretty much like a missile bomb where you can pretty much detonate it the second time you fire it. You can do it at any time, but it's incredibly powerful. The blast is very strong. The ammo consumption is insanely low. You can consider it the metal blade of Mighty Number 9, except you can't fire it in each and every direction. This is why we went to Battalion first. It's pretty much the bread and butter of weaponry for this entire game, and as you can see, it can be used to great effect throughout the entirety.
Yeah, this also actually makes some cases where you have multiple enemies on screen. It's more fast to actually destroy the enemies with the rockets rather than absorbing them. And yeah, now actually that we have gauntlets here, we haven't talked about these that much. These gauntlets are in almost every stage. They are always the same. The enemies are always the same, and it's just pretty much just learning what to shoot, when to shoot, and where to shoot. And rockets make these exceptionally easy.
It's worth mentioning that sometimes I destroy enemies in this gauntlet, which I don't think we mentioned that you actually can do that. Of course, getting the bonus from absorbing the Zell out of their enemy, which is what the cyber... Oh, that's fail. Hang on a sec, let me try that again. Okay, there we go. I was going to say, so whenever an enemy's bleeding a color, they're sort of emitting an energy in universe called Zell, which is basically cybernetic muscle tissue that was designed by Beck's creator's father. Spoiler alert. But yes, basically, whenever you see the word Zell being mentioned in the game, that's what it's talking about. It's what robots are essentially made out of. Seemingly pretty convenient because it allows for like solid form creation and quick builds overall. Now, if only my gunpla were like that, eh? Just saying. Shout out to model builders. Okay, so we're clearly within the reaches of a auto-scroller portion, and I want to avoid dying. Of course, I activated the iframe glitch to avoid things, because you may have noticed that I take major knockback. It's intentionally increased if I get hit while dashing. That was all part of the design of the game, by the way. It's not a glitch either. There are some decisions that were indeed intentional with this game, believe it or not. And other than that, I'm just trying to rebuild my insta-heal, which could be close. Maybe this next guy, I think? Okay, no. Never mind. So I'll just have to play it a little carefully. Right. So we're going to the Brandish fight, and Seismic is going to be his weakness. It's a very funny weapon, but a very fairly useful and fast one, too. You can be nearly as fast as dashing itself, in fact. But right now I'm trying to manipulate him because you noticed that his blades break with enough hits and it forces his moveset to change. But I don't think I'll be getting the skip.
No.
Yeah, so you can skip his desperation move, but it's not easy. We don't have a consistent way of doing it. And that's unfortunate, but hey, we work with what we can get.
And yeah, this is a pretty simple fight since our enemy is also close quarters combatant. It's gonna be a lot of head bashing and being careful not to die. Nice. Wonderful.
Nice. This is still pretty good pace, all things considered. Even with that unfortunate death, that was still quite nice, and I'm very appreciative of that. And 4 minutes, 11 seconds, point 23.
Yeah, that was early, so you didn't lose that much. Deaths in this game aren't that hurtful when it comes to the IGT, unless you have a game over, but then you'll flat out just reject it.
Yeah, so IGT works a little bit funky in this game because there's no truly accurate way to lock onto the time unless we are using that results screen, which is a catch-22 because the time itself for the current stage attempt wipes out on a game over. Luckily, Mighty Number 9 threw in this option where if you go to the options menu before you select the stage or before you go into the game itself, the idea is that you can change your starting lives every stage. Now, you noticed that there were some extra life pickups that I could get, and yeah, oddly enough, those don't really carry over from stage to stage. You're always going to go back to the number that you kind of sort of started with, right? This in mind, though, it's kind of sort of important because by setting the maximum life number to 9, well, it gives us maximum safety, and that's why any percent is a generally beginner-friendly category. So now we're moving into Dyna stage, and one of the reasons that I kept it on English voice acting is for a little something JP likes to call ASMR Sonda.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of the fact that Sonda's VA, English VA, is a little bit overhammy when it comes to some of the voices. Hearing them kind of like blubbering because of the darkness. Sonda canonically being afraid of the dark. Just Well, you're hearing it right now.
And by the way,
Yeah.
that's the voice of Dave Wittenberg, which, if you're familiar for his performances as Kefka from Final Fantasy Dissidia and Kakashi from Naruto, that's probably one of the most jarring things you could even think about right now. He's a great voice actor, though, so big shout out to Dave. I appreciate his work.
And also, welcome the wonderful friends of this stage, the turbines. They are insta-kill, and soon we will have a very not beginner-friendly section where we have to do the duck dash that Tempest was actually speaking about. And the game tells you actually to do a duck dash, but it doesn't tell you to hold all the buttons down until you are past the turbine. I don't think. Actually, it didn't even tell you about that. Why not?
To be fair, that instruction was added in, if I recall correctly, really didn't, in the early days of Mario Number 9, that was definitely one of the gatekeepers of the game. It didn't really tell you the duck jump was even a thing, and I think probably a few updates later, it actually mentioned that you can do it, and didn't tell you how to do it, so it really makes it hard to even figure out how to do the duck dash to begin with, not including that the fact that the hitbox on the turbines is very deceiving. You really need to get really close to it to actually make sure that the duck dash is able to wedge through. But anyway, going on to the Donatron fight, you can see that we got Brandish equipped. Brandish is really good on Dinah. As you can see, the Brandish weapon has multiple functions. It's chargeable, and depending on if you use a button or a direction input, you can have the charge effect do multiple things. As you can see, just releasing the charge does a berserker slash attack, and holding down while doing the charge gets you a straight downward slash, and doing that destroys those little bits that Donatron has, because the main attack that Donna does is that those bits stick to you, and after a given period of time, the electric shots will track onto those bits. It will hit you from afar, no matter where you go, as long as the bits are still attached to you. So destroying those to get out of the way to avoid damage, and of course using Brandish as the weakness in and of itself, is very vital for a very fast and effective fight.
That was 2 minutes 53:17. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Moving into probably one of the more polarizing casual levels of any player's experience. One that certainly meant well in trying to reinvent the wheel a little bit, but obviously has a few dangerous sides to itself. So this is the Capitol building, and yes, this game actually does take place in America. The present day, or as the Japanese script will tell you, 21XX, because apparently they could not break free from Mega Man forever, and yet 8-4 tried to? I don't know. 8-4 is the translation company. They're usually good at translating things to Japanese, and I give them credit for that work, but I'm pretty sure anytime they've done an English translation, it's been okay, I guess. It clearly feels as though if you listen to the differences between the voice lines between English and Japanese, you'll tell a clear-cut difference. Other than that, though, this is basically a game of hide and seek. Shade is trying to hide from me. I gotta bust him down enough times before he's had enough, and eventually I fight him. So I think that was maybe a little too much, but we'll see. That was not too bad otherwise. I'm performing a bit of a manipulation where, if done right, you'll see him one more time, we'll bop him enough times, and then that'll be that.
Yeah, usually, if Tempest fails, you'll have to go after Shade for one more room length's worth. A trick, and then you actually got it nice. No extra wrecking. We're actually gonna get to the end of the stage and to the boss fight. If you die anytime during the stage before the boss fight, you'll have to start all over again. There are no checkpoints. This is the first one, and that's a wonderful design choice. I can tell you that much.
Unfortunately, it is the first one. Okay, but yeah,
Shade
for the fight.
Yeah. Shade fight. Shade will turn invisible, but we will be actually shooting a couple of times with the regular back and then using Dinah's weapon. Dash weapon will deal constant damage and will also keep Shade from going invisible, but you have to attach the pellets after dashing. So what happened to Tempest there is that he didn't manage to get the shots in, so the Shade managed to go invisible again. Yeah, and here's the actually desperation move skip if Tempest gets it.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
ran out of ammo. So, unfortunately, with weapon ammo, there's a good thing about it and a bad thing about it. So, when I switch between my resurrection forms, which, yes, that's what the powers are called, it's interesting because you notice no direct weapon ammo pickups, yes. The thing about that is your weapon ammo recovers over time, but you also get it back if you absorb something through an enemy. So, Dyna, I used a little too much there. But that's okay. I'm having a really good fight overall. This is actually coming out. And then some. And that's actually really good. I think that was an overall really good Shade stage, too. You love to see that.
We didn't even see the pellets that shows your controls.
2 minutes, 25.77.
What were you gonna say, Creed?
Yeah, I was just gonna do a short little mention that due to the fact that there is no checkpoints, it's basically a state counter state being as short or as long as the stage that you yourself can make it. That's pretty much the only reason why there is no checkpoints, but that's pretty much it's a catch-22 in that regard. But yeah, just a minor mention. But going on now, we're going to Aviator stage, Avi for short. This stage is your obligatory sky stage as well as the tower climb. So you're going to be doing some open air sections as you go on this stage. But this stage also has an added gimmick. This game also has a wind mechanic. So as the game progresses, there will be wind gusts that will mostly hinder you, but there are some areas where the wind can actually help you. And right now you got the wind going at your face right now, so right now it's a hindrance. So it's going to be pulling you back at the current moment. So the wind will be going to have to be managed throughout the entire stage in specific sections. Of course, Tempest does have this on lock, being the veteran that he is, but it's just something you're going to have to keep notice on throughout the entire stage as we move on, and still be heading towards the mini boss. And yeah, heading to the mini boss right now.
I just realized I don't have the red power, but that's okay. One thing I'm going to try and do with this helicopter is it comes in 3 phases, and the red power-up. So, not only does it technically make my moves stronger, but it also changes up the properties of some of them too. The Base Buster phases through walls, similar to a little traditional Mega Man stuff, and the other weapons themselves will usually do an extra thing or two, but the general gist as well is that weapon ammo consumption is shortened as well. So the more I get to use this, the better, and the quicker too, usually. That was too bad though.
Minimus.
Okay, setting up for Shade's power. You've noticed, by the way, that you're probably seeing the mighty numbers that I've saved show up throughout the stage. Now, that cutscene I had to skip. And that's normally where Shade would come in, because if he wasn't there, then the airship would be on fire and start to fall down, basically, and you'd have to get off as fast as you can, even though you got plenty of time to do it. But the funny part is that one time in practice, I discovered that it was... I hate it when that happens. It was still basically on fire after I skipped the cutscene, and I still don't understand why. It was... more than likely because I was playing on an already completed file, which is how I usually practice my Mighty Number 9 stages, while strictly restricting myself to... This is not too good. I'm going to use the heal now, just to be safe. Strictly restricting myself to what I would normally have in that stage, is what I was trying to say. Go. Ooh, actually, why not? Okay, cool. That should actually keep me decently covered until we get to the boss, so yeah. I'm just going through these air hoops right now, and then I'm going to switch to Shade's power-up in just a bit, which is a really nifty ricocheting bullet that, while it's got the high ammo consumption as compared to what Bats does, it's really nifty, and it can be like poetry in motion, basically. In fact, let's do it. Ah, dang it, bad demonstration. Never mind, I screwed myself up there. Doo-da.
Actually, that was a much better demonstration right down there because
Yep.
the ricochets actually home in on other nearby enemies and just not just ricochet just any random direction like you probably would see like a Gemini laser from Mega Man 3, for example. So as far as utility, it actually is pretty good for a cluster of enemies.
Okay, so no instant heal. I'll have to play this pretty safely because Avi can be a bit of a devastating fight if he does not like to behave. Let's try and see if I can make this work, though, and... Okay, starting off simple. Let's see if he goes for the move. This just did!
Oh, yes. You don't want to see this. This is the move that is hardest to hit during. You can ricochet some shots of the rockets, but yeah, that's not easy. And yeah, this is one of the better moves where he just sweeps vertically. And even the one where he responds to camera is a pretty good one. This inspiration move I don't think can be skipped, but it's very easy to dodge, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you just hope you don't see this just in, like, once. That can happen. It's very rare, but okay, twice, that's not so nice.
I just realized how bright the sky is, ungodly so, because I was having trouble trying to detect Beck, because you notice how he turns blue like so, whenever he's in the middle of a dash, and it kind of just obscured me a little. 4 minutes 28, sorry, 24.28. 4 minutes 24.28.
I think it was 98. Or did I see it wrong?
Alright, we only got 2 more mighty numbers, so get ready for that, because now we're moving on to mighty number 1 himself, Pyro. Now, all the voice actors of the game, a lot of voice actors are actually pretty well-known faces. Avi, thanks Avi, by the way. I can't forget to say that one, ever. Wait, shoot, okay, that wasn't quite it. I'm gonna try that again in a sec.
Yeah, I can actually go on from here, so you can concentrate. Pyro stage, yeah. This stage actually has one of 2 gimmicks. One gimmick that is on 2 of the next stages, this one and the next one. It's called slippery. It's the slippery surfaces. Here it is oil, and on the next one it's gonna be ice. Spoilers. How these work are that if you just press the dash button without giving any movement inputs like left or right or down or whatever, you move the fastest. If you like try to move right and then dash, you will do the regular dash speed. But just releasing your movement and going to the dash, you will go super fast. And yeah, once again we have a combat here. But yeah, Tempest, you were saying about the voice actors.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
I think this is actually a pretty good time to hand it over to our host as I start to reset the next iframe. So here we go. And all right, Nick, take it away.
Sure thing. I want to remind everyone that we are here all weekend raising money for the Samaritans. They are a United Kingdom-based suicide prevention charity with a free-to-call helpline for those in crisis. They deal with 10,000 calls a day, and every call they answer could change a life forever. So very, very important charity. So please keep your donations coming in, especially as our very next run, Choo Choo Charles, has an incentive that we are 1/3 of the way towards. So if you'd like to see the glitchless run get upgraded to 100%, make sure you get your donations in now, and let's see that goal get met.
I'd certainly like to see that incentive met. So I hope we can make that work. And hey, even if we don't, I would still want to say thank you all for donating, because I always am one to say that any donations are appreciated, no matter how big or how small. So yeah, thank you all for supporting the Samaritans. With that, here's Pyro.
Pyro is very weak to Avi. Avi actually, the weapon he gives you is this boomerang you can throw around. It has a little bit of a bug that if you throw a boomerang, then swap back your weapons back to regular back and then back to RB. You can throw another boomerang instead of calling the old one in. You're supposed to only have one on screen, but with that bot you can actually have like 3 on screen and shred Pyro's health in matter of.
And a faster method, too, to do what we like to call the Pyro Juggle also can involve holding the propeller blade above Beck's head, which can make for a really nice fight cheese. But do keep in mind that whenever Pyro initiates his desperation move, he's covering himself in blue flame, and you do not want to touch him whenever that's happening, or he will grab you in an unavoidable hug that will instant kill Beck. Not fun. But yeah. That was basically that. And now, one more mighty number in Cryosphere, which, yeah, I gotta say this right now. Y'all, we got 2 different types of tropes of levels that gamers don't quite like more often than not. We got the water levels, we got the ice levels. Well, first a quick minor, hopefully minor volume warning to folks wearing headphones, but I'm just to say this. Yeah, it's not just a water level. It's also an ice level. Ah! And I pray to God that was not loud like the other times I've done that running gag. Good God.
I think it was cut out like after the beginning. My end, at least.
I heard nothing.
I just saw your face. I know what was going on because, well, I'd heard it before.
Oh, goodness. Well, hey, I'll take that over something, but I'm sure my mic, in terms of the stream, actually picked that up. Which hopefully it did. That's kind of the point, but oh well. By the way, the reason I like to bring that up is because that's actually, for those that don't know, for those that have seen me do that, that's actually a reference to a small joke, and then, believe it or not, Mighty Number 9 YouTube poop. Yes, there exists a couple of those. I don't know if this one necessarily aged well, but that segment where Dr. Sanda's complaining about the fact that this is a ice level, and then Call reminds him it's also a water level. I always liked that line. I always did. But yeah, we're playing Pong with these mini-bosses, and yeah, here we go. Gotta try not to activate a bit of a glitch with one of the bots, which could easily wreck the valid run. And I'm looking a bit damaged here, so I'm probably... Dang it! Okay, I was hoping to take the safety death after the fact, but I guess I'll have to work with that. Yep. Oh wait, it puts me right before the... Why do I forget
Not
these
too
things?
bad.
Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah, those rarely happen, so...
Oh,
Oh yeah.
hurt,
With these battles you actually just want to have the red power up with you, but because Tempest to the left there, he has to do this without. It'll make these slightly faster, but it's not... But it's still faster, so we want that. And this corridor is extremely dangerous, and Tempest is doing an awesome job.
Yeah,
the red power up you have... Yeah,
made it
go
a
ahead.
point to practice that section as many times as possible. And funnily enough, as we go into Cryo, if you backtrack from dying to... Like, if you die to her, and you decide to, for some reason, just backtrack and see those platforms, you'll notice the ice coating is completely gone, which means this game apparently loads that separately. I don't know, I don't get that, but it's kind of funny, and I discovered that literally last night. 3 a.m. in the morning, in fact.
Now that we've broken the ice, time to give you the cold shoulder.
Don't ask. Curiosity was just calling me. I just needed to... what can I say? I wanted to practice.
In the meanwhile, that was a pretty standard cryo fight. Want to not get caught the ice attacks, the ice will freeze you. Don't want to get hit by Cryo's big ice attack, does a lot of damage. Of course, use Pyro's weapon to deal as much damage as possible, with that being the weakness. And what we didn't talk about, since we got through the area very quickly, in regards to the ice, you cannot wall cling to the ice. So doing ledge grabs is unavailable, which means if you're in a position where you're trying to grab a ledge and there's a spike death pit below you, you're pretty much going to be falling down there. So Tempest was able to get through that cleanly. Cryo was done, and now we get to our notably interesting Kickstarter stage.
So Kickstarter, Mighty Number 9's Kickstarter infamously had so many stretch goals that they were just simply trying to meet because they were getting so much money into the project. It's probably one of the most successful game projects in the history of Kickstarter, at least of its time, because I don't necessarily know if there's any that have potentially beaten it. I sure would like to see that one of these days, but you know what? Crowdfunding is crowdfunding, and sometimes people look back and think to themselves, never again. But let me tell you, there are a lot of fantastic indie game Kickstarters, some of which I have lovingly supported, and JP and I will definitely talk about one of those in just a bit. But for now, yes, this was a stage that was one of those stretch goals. The ability to play as Call in general, too. She's a really cool character because she can hover, and instead of duck dashing, she can literally crawl. But she's only got a singular shot. Beck can fire 3 shots at a time. Call can only fire this one big shot, and yeah, you gotta hit him with a big shot, you know? Sorry, Deltarune. Anyway, you gotta try to be as close to an enemy as possible and mash the shots to do maximum damage. Even then, the enemies unique to this stage are mostly built to be indestructible. And that's not even just a Call thing, that actually happens to Beck as well. The sentries, those bombs, Beck's Buster can't actually destroy them, and that's just how they're coded. So, unfortunate, and yet very much a thing. The big eye enemies, on the other hand, I was floating through a couple of them, and I just want to hit them enough times until you see that little X mark on their face, and the reason for that is because the blade will then hit them and clear them out, just like that. Which is really nice.
I just want to make an extra point about the strength of the Buster, especially in best case, as Tempest alluded to. The Buster is technically really, really weak. As you can see, it doesn't destroy anything immediately, like compared to like a normal Mega Man game where you can do like 3 pot shots and a boss dies. The Acceleration Dash is supposed to be the main means of defeating enemies. So as the Buster shot is meant to be like a setup weapon in order to get them primed in position to be Zell absorbed. So that's why it's so notable that Call in this particular stage, these like alternate means of destroying enemies, like those big bladed enemies that you saw use their weapons against them. It's kind of like the stage is meant to try to force the player to try to think with their minds to how to use Call to get by sections as quick as possible.
And now for the reason why this is the consistently longest stage of the entire run. We got K9, a boss built on minimal means of damaging it, aside from shooting out that sentry eye, which it can then try to get back, or try to blow it up from the inside. That might sound a little bit metal, but hear me out. This boss is very much pattern-based, meaning that it will always stick to a specific pattern when it does anything. So you always see it rinse and repeat. But then it eventually will call upon those flying droids, which then eventually calls down a crate. And the sentry droid, you just saw it restore the eye, which, and then I gotta shoot again. That's a little annoying. There we go. But if it drops down a bomb and eats the bomb, it will deal a lot more damage. And technically, if it eats 3 of them, that's enough to outright kill it. The problem is, well, for one, you can't pet the dog, but 2, you have luck. It's very much RNG, but one thing that is guaranteed is that the fight will always have 4 preset drops, particularly 2 sentries and 2 bombs. The order in which they drop is RNG, though, and then from that point on, we don't really know what happens next.
Indeed.
So yeah, this is a very big time waster boss fight, unfortunately. And there are ways to sort of YOLO it, but in terms of a marathon setting, I'm not gonna try that. I did it once, but that was by pure accident. Unfortunate to say, K9 can also miss eating the enemy, or at worst case, just outright destroy it. So yeah, there's a few things that can go potentially wrong with this guy. It's not fun. Oh, but overall, it's just a boss that I'm trying to defeat at the end of the day.
You could say this stage called for a kind of a reformation, or whatever, redesign, or something, because this stage is, yeah. And this boss especially.
I do want to point out that this game was developed by Inti Creates, best known for the Mega Man Zero and ZX games, as well as a bunch of indie titles such as the Gunvolt series, Blaster Master Zero Trilogy, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1 and 2, and they are just really good developers. But admittedly, they had a bit of a tough time working on this, and it's understandable. Their bread and butter is usually sprite games. Anyway. Aw, we weren't doing the thing? Oh, dang it.
Other than seeing if y'all were gonna do it without me, I usually initiate it with the. But I'll do it now since y'all kind of. Is that yeah, boy?
Yeah.
Love
that.
Just a little thing that we like to do for Sonda.
Because he's just so happy about absolutely doing nothing in the background. Shout out to Sonda. Technically, he's the call. He created Call. And by the way, if you thought Keiji Inafune dropped the ball on puns, oh no, he did not. Because this guy is named Beck, and we just played his Call. I think you all get what he was trying to go for here.
As it is, you must hit the panel there to open.
But anyway, this stage. So, fun fact: Robot Factory and Prison you can do in any order you want, and not a lot of people might know that. Sometimes I like to go one way or the other depending on how I feel, but it feels good to get the prison out of the way, honestly, so I can't complain.
Yeah. Also another death corridor with spikes where you have to maneuver a tight space and survive, and Tempest did both of them really good.
Hello, Mom.
And first mini-boss of the stage is Mom. You can destroy this one face, like, you saw her, like, shielding the eye for a bit. You can defeat this without ever seeing that happen if you're fast enough with your RV or cryo shots, but what happens is that once she takes the eye in, she will just spawn a few bots, and once you destroy them, the eye, or the big point, is once again available to you. Overall, I really like this stage because you can use most of Beck's arsenal here for
it's
different amounts
mostly
of
required
effects.
Anyway. Mostly required.
It's mostly required, but most are useful in some cases. There are a couple of ones like Pyro that is not useful at all. I don't think Dyna is... well, the boss actually uses Dyna, so Pyro is I think is the only one that is not useful at all here. Yeah, also, do you remember this guy? We have a blade now.
Yeah, Round Digger's back, it's red, it's beefier, so Brandish's weapon and mashing the sword strikes is the best way to handle it. Not much else to it. But of course, if it tries to do a little washy-washy attack from up above on the roof, or ceiling, Ugh, I do not know what a house is, apparently. It's, time wasting. That's all I was going to say. Here we have a nice little gauntlet room, by the way, where you actually get some support from some of the mighty numbers here, where Shade and Cryo will try to attack the enemies, and it's really nice. Other than that, it does make sense to try and clear it out as fast as you can, because there is a thing as taking too long, which, luckily, the game still... Oh, I should have... Good thing I noticed the low health there. I was gonna say, though, Brandish eventually does a screen clear if you take too, but the game thinks you take too long.
I think it happens no matter what. Once the enemy stops, the Brandish doesn't, and then the door opens. I don't know. Could be.
By the way, the
wrong.
instant heal that you saw me use sometimes is really nice and all, but it does have a flaw, like with enough features of this game, in that you can activate it even if you're at full health. Which is tragic. Always tragic. But now...
Time for the stage push.
This guy.
This guy. First, you see this facility, car thingy, whatever it is. You have to destroy it with Dyna's weapon. But this time, you see another one of these mom eye thingies. You want to shoot with Cryo as much and as fast as possible, because you can see in the background the machinery thingy is being built again. And if you don't manage to one-cycle this thing, you will lose a ton of time. And we're gonna have to lose a ton of time. That's unfortunate, but we get to dance some Macarena while bombs are getting dropped on us.
Yeah, it's basically like the equivalent to the desperation phase. Because now you got to deal with dodging all these falling bombs. You got to deal with the conveyors, which messes your movement while trying to dodge these bombs. And yeah, this is pretty much a significant consequence of not one-shotting the mom core.
Which,
Yeah, but also, Tempest always likes to call out this thing, or how it resembles one thing from Mega Man 11, and that being the impact chain.
yeah, because it's basically the equivalent to you screw up, you gotta go through this entire thing. And there's no escape! Alright, that was not too bad,
No,
though, all things considered.
The stage was really
So,
good. The
here
stage
we
was
go.
really good.
Next time. Also, sorry if you heard the background noise. Apparently, the family dog was a little bit bad during his walk. 4 minutes, 4 seconds, and 0.67. No, you're good. You're good. Ugh, that's unfortunate. Okay. But yeah, now we've moved on to the final level of the game. Or rather, of the run. Because technically you notice that I have a DLC stage installed, which is a really nice little thing, and eventually it would be pretty cool if a certain someone got to it. I'm not talking about you, JP, I'm talking about myself, I promise.
Attention! Beck has landed in the Colosseum.
Yeah, I would like to see that one, yeah. We still have Beck's final stage to go, and it starts with the gauntlet. How nice. A couple of spawns in this stage are actually happening behind Beck's health bar, so you have to be very careful with this spawn especially. Yeah, you didn't destroy it. It's very difficult to see, but where you know it from is that the stage pretty much stops until you destroy the stunned enemy behind your health bar. You can actually turn off the health bar, why would you? I don't know if it's available on consoles, but at least on PC you can. But yeah, once again, pretty much just that going through everything.
Surprisingly, too, by the way, this is the final gauntlet room of the game, so no more of those from here on out. At least assuming I don't have to restart the stage, which pretty sure I don't. I got a lot of lives. I certainly hate jinxing myself, though, so that's the last thing I need to do right now, for certain.
Well, as we continue on through the stage, we should definitely talk about these forming platforms, because these have been another one of those things that really haven't been talked about too clearly within the game. So these little Zell protrusions, you need first and foremost you need to shoot them in order to solidify so they can act as platforms. However, there's a situation where you can shoot them a little too much and they can be completely destroyed. What the game doesn't tell you is that if you move back or move a certain distance away from the destroyed platforms, they actually reform back. Because most of the time you see a platform, you assume that they're destroyed forever. You need to move back just a little bit in order for them to eventually reform. So it's a case of knowing how to balance your shots in order to get into position to, one, form them to get the platforms you need to progress, two, not to shoot them too much in order to kind of like impede progress, and three, have the knowledge to know to actually go back to reform them and not assume that you like need to die because you think the game pretty much just 100% blocked your way in order to move on. So it's stuff like this you need to keep in mind in order to progress to this final platforming gauntlet in order to get by the area as soon as possible.
And this is actually one of the final safer corridors where you take invisibility for the rest of the stage, and we have to wait this elevator to go down. This could be a good time for a couple of journals or something, maybe?
Yeah, we could pass it. No worries, we could pass it back to Nick, yeah.
I was going to say, it's certainly a good time for another reminder about our next run coming up, Choo Choo Charles, where we are still $65 away from hitting that $100 goal to upgrade the run from glitchless to 100%. But maybe spider trains isn't your thing. Maybe murderous animatronics is your thing. We've also got a run of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach coming up later this evening, and there is an incentive for a glitch showcase of that. So if we can hit $60 for that, then you get to check out some of the cool glitches from Security Breach. So if you are donating, please keep your donations coming in, but make sure that you select one of those incentives and put your money towards it. With that, I'll let you go back to the runner.
Thank you, Nick. And here's an attempt of a trick that I always struggle to complete. But I, at the very least, am still within a decent safe spot, because as you can tell right there, this is Trinity. We like to call her the Easy Devil, but her quick kill is not the easiest to pull off 24/7. And the reason is, you got that safe spot right there, right? But, oh, okay, I wasn't able to finish the first phase by then. Okay, no problem. She's going to do a different attack, no big deal. Yeah, the whole idea is, once she's vulnerable like that, you can only hit her then, so setting yourself right in the corner of the wall, as long as you're moving, it's not, you're not going to take damage, basically.
Yep, first phase done, second phase coming in. This one's a little bit trickier. You have the flower, or whatever worm tower thingy. Every time you destroy one of the legs, Trinity will turn around and try to go inside the other wall. Once Trinity has gone inside the wall twice, she will do an attack where she rises from the center as a flower that will spit goo. If you manage to actually absorb Trinity 3 times before she goes inside the wall the second time, she will do another attack. An attack you don't want to see. An attack you will see if you don't finish the fight with this attack, you will have to see it. And this is the attack. The reason you don't want to see this is that you can damage Trinity at all during this, or maybe you can a little, but not enough. And also it would make the fight go a little bit longer, and so yeah, more time wasted. But sad to see it happen, but we can move on. Once again, we're back. Yeah, this is scary. You can see the health situation. If you die on this fight, like if Tempest would die now, he would have to do the first phase again without the extra energy tank thingy.
Alright, time's coming up. And time.
You had a rocket on that orb. GG.
I was noticing.
That's never happened before.
That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, solid run.
I'm almost ready with the calculations once I get the final fractions.
That was such a solid run. I'm gonna say straight, that's a RTA PB on my live split right there. But of course, the real kicker is gonna come down to the IGT. And let's see here, 5 minutes 41.98. I'm pretty confident in that one, though. I'm pretty confident.
You get to add 7.49 seconds to your time. The thing is that the in-game timer that we are basing all the times on is shown on the save selection screen. But for some baffling reason, even though the stage timers keep the fractions in, the save selection screen does not. So we have to add those manually back in after the run to see the final time. And yeah, we did that while Tempest was running, so yeah, I usually do it from a water or something, but
just a little bit of remaining voice acting to go here. But let's see here, my PB would be in IGT 43 minutes 18 seconds .77, and let's take a look at the file time. So I'm just gonna skip through the credits, which by the way are several hours long. I'm not even joking. It's a shame.
4 hours total.
Yeah, it's a shame because at the end of it, they dedicate the game in memory to somebody who I still don't know who they are to this day. I would hate to think they were a backer, but a lot of people put their contribution toward this game, this project. And while not everybody was pleased with the final result, I can at the very least say thank you for allowing this game to exist. That is definitely a PB right there.
41-30 point. GG. You didn't leave us crying like an anime fan on prom night.
Oh, my name
You
is
had
Tempest.
to say it.
My name is
You know
Tempest, and
you
I'm an
had to.
anime fan who did not cry on prom night. True fact.
But yeah, GG's Tempest, very good run. Of course, always glad to help commentate with this run. In spite of the end result, the game's end result, we still have respect for it and accept the game for what it is. It's a decent game if you're willing to give it at least one shot. At least one shot, and hopefully Tempest has showcased the game at least to your liking.
And
So
if you do,
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
All I was gonna say was that if you are curious as to giving this game a try, there is no demo. But what if I told you this game, whenever it goes on sale, always goes for 90% off, and you can get this right now for $2? Just saying, it's only less than a bagel, in fact. So hey, if you really are curious to give this a shot, we highly implore you. And if you feel like picking up the speed run, feel free to check out the Mighty Number 9 Speed community, which you'll find our Discord link for and the leaderboard. So with that, thank you, Indiethon, for having this game once more. And maybe in the future, we could get someone else to do it, or I could just do a different character. We'll see. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Creed. Where can these wonderful folks find you?
Well, on Twitch with the same name and on Discord with the same name. So
Pretty much the same. I rarely don't stream all that often, but I have been doing some things on the side for another marathon that may be coming up very, very soon. So you might be seeing me stream somewhat a little more often for at least the next couple of weeks. But yeah,
Heck yeah. That'll be... I mean, it sure sounds pretty mega, if you ask me. Little foreshadowing there.
no
sorry.
commento.
Alright, thank you so much for having me, all. This won't be the last time you see me. I'll be back later tonight for Curse Crackers, so I'll just pass it on back to everybody because I think we've kept you waiting long enough. Let the horror block begin. Nick, take us out. Ciao, amici.
Thank you very much, Tempest. That was a mighty good run. I'm sure everyone would agree. That is going to be it for Mighty Number 9, and that is also my time on the hosting deck complete. But don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow with a run of Mini Ghost and then some more hosting for you. In the meantime, I'm going to sit back, relax, cuddle up on the sofa with my plushy little Choo Choo Charles, and watch this next incredible run of Choo Choo Charles. Don't go anywhere, folks!